And so he would record sounds like, you know, if you got a little ashtray or something like that, and he'd scrape something along the side of it, that'd be the sort of thing. I suppose a lot of you here, who knows the story about Have I the Right, and how he got the sounds on that. Well, Have I the Right was one of his #1 hit records by a group called the Honeycombs, and their main selling point really was they had a female drummer, which is incredibly unusual in those days. And so how did Joe go about exploiting the fact, you know, you want to highlight the fact that you've got a girl drummer, so you want to bring the percussion to the fore. And the way he did this was by having almost no drums on the record whatsoever, because when you listen to it, what you get is you've got a bass drum, just giving it the fore on the floor, if you like, along with the record. You get the little tinkle of sticks on the rim of the snare drum. No actual snare drum going on there, apart from a little few places at the end of the verses. But where he really went to town was on the chorus, and famously, what he did is he got the band to line up on the stairway, the stairwell of his flat, and he mic'd it up. And when it came to the chorus, he got them all to stamp along in time to the music, and that created this big thudding sound, which one of the reasons the record was a hit, apart from being a fantastic song. The other thing that he did to really bring the percussion up to the front was to use a tambourine, which is the main thing that you hear carrying the rhythm along. And I'm going to play you the track now. I'm sure you've all heard it before, but it's worth having a listen, because what Joe does with the tambourine, if you sort of really pay attention to the percussive nature of this track, the tambourine is constantly being pushed and pulled back in the mix. Now again, this is something that was unusual in the 60s. People did, you know, generally set up the levels, you know, and then said go, you know, and the band played, and that was that. And not a lot of actual mixing, if you like, went on. But Joe was much more hands-on than that, and so if we have a listen to this one, listen out for the levels in the tambourine and also the stomping on the stairs in the chorus.
To hold you, I know I've always told you that we must never, never part. Oh, have I the right to kiss you? I know I'll always miss you. I've loved you from the very start. Send those shivers running down my spine. Ooh, have I the right to thrill you? I know I'm waiting till you give me the right to make you mine. Well, come right back, I just can't bear it. I got to love and I want to share it. Come right back, I'll show my love is strong.
Excellent, that's one of my favourites. That one, I was only the first snatcher of it, but as soon as it started I couldn't turn it off.
You've also got one of the guitars sounding like an auto harp or zither.
Yeah, he did. I believe the method that the guitarist would have used there was he'd have probably had what we call a tremolo arm, or whammy bar as guitarists like to call them. And it's the sort of thing Hank Marvin used to use all the time to get his bendy effects. But if you just sort of like hook your little finger over it when you're playing, because it's sort of like vibrating the strings a bit, you know, it can create that effect. There's a letter over there actually, it made me smile when I first saw it. With Joe's written to some person connected, I think, with Thank You Lucky Stars television programme. And he's plugging a Tornadoes single. Do you know, it's their last single, Is That a Ship I Hear? Know that one, yeah? Now, what he did for that, again, he wanted to get a really sort of wobbly sound on the piano. And so basically, he would have played it through one of his tape machines, and he would have manually wobbled the tape, okay? So, you know, obviously the sound of the piano in the studio is just ordinary. But then when it gets played back, this tape's been wobbled, he's got this wonky sound on the keyboard. You see. Now in this letter, to try and sort of whip up a bit of interest, he's told this chap that he's to get his sound, he's invented this wonderful new thing called a splatterboard, right? Which is meant to look like the insides of a grandfather clock that somebody's trodden on, or something like that. You know, oh, he's invented this splatterboard. There's no such thing, you know. He's just wobbling his tape heads, you know. So that's the sort of thing that he could do.
And is that the same piano that had drawing pins in all that?
Of course, yeah. That's in his studio, his piano. He had put drawing pins in the hammers. I think the piano is a percussive instrument, to give it a brighter sound, which he found, you know, was easier to record. Other effects that Joe employed. I mean, one of the main things that he did was he employed distortion. Long before anybody else was thinking of doing it. When we think how he would do that would be to record sounds at a very high level onto his tape so that the sound would break up. Now, when we make recordings, there's a thing called signal to noise ratio, which we have to take into account. Nowadays, people record onto computers and it's all digital and it doesn't come into effect so much, but when we used to record on tape, there would be an optimum level whereby you've got as much sound as you can possibly get onto the tape before it starts sounding a bit crunchy and a bit distorted. Okay, that is the ideal that you were striving for. I don't know if you ever remember back in the days when we listened to cassette tapes, you know, sometimes a mate would record, say, yeah, I'll tape you that new album. You'd get it home and he's recorded it so quietly that when you turn it up, you're just getting a load of tape hiss, you see. And that's what you're trying to eliminate. You know, you don't want this hiss on the tape. You want to get as much sound on there as cleanly as possible. Unless that is your Joe Meek, in which case you want to get as much sound as you possibly can on that tape, and let's see what happens to it. And you could get sort of, incredibly sort of hot sounding effects. So distortion was something that he used to quite a heavy degree on some, especially some of his later records. I also believe he's one of the first people to make a fuzz box. You know, which guitarists use all the time nowadays, you know, especially in heavy rock music, and Joe had one very early on in the mid-60s. One thing that Joe did, which was quite unique to him in making pop records, was speeding, tape speeding. Now, I think Joe once said that he felt there wasn't a record that had been made to that date that didn't benefit from a little bit of speeding up. And so what he would do, he would get his bands to purposely play the backing tracks slowly so that he could speed the track up afterwards. Now, people just didn't do this in recording studios back then unless they were making novelty records. And so a very high percentage of Joe's recordings are actually speeded up, you know, and I can illustrate this actually. Because of, One of the last recordings that Joe made was by a band called the Riot Squad. In fact, this track that I'm going to play you was the last single that Joe had released in his lifetime. And if we listen to this work in progress take of the song, you'll hear it at its original tempo. And then afterwards I'll play you what he released and you can hear how he speeded it up.
1, 2, 3, 4.
So that's how the band recorded it in the studio. And then when Joe had finished mixing it, he speeded it up to this.